Hello, and welcome back. I am so glad you could join me for another chapter. Without further ado, I've got my water, and we've got the book. So, let's just dive right back in to chapter 38 of The Legend of Luke by Brian Jacques. On a rare, boisterous autumn morn, two otters stood waist-deep in the waters where North Fork Stream merged with the main flow seaward. It was here in the swirl of currents that the finest water shrimp were to be found. Unstaking a long tubular reed net, they hauled it carefully to the bank. The elder of the pair, a sleek, tough otter wife, instructed her half-grown son in the rudiments of this tribe's fishing tradition. "Always hold the netting slow and easy, Jiddy. I seen silly beasts lose all their catch many a time from rushing things. Now, look at our net, son, bulging with the little beauties. Tie off the end good and tight, that's it." Grinning from ear to ear, Jiddy patted the well-packed net. "Wait till Tungro capsize on this lot. I bet by next season he'll let me come here alone." The young otter had no time for further conversation. His mother knocked him flat into the cover of hanging willow fronds. Stifling his mouth with a swift paw, she lay beside him, peering upstream at the strange craft in the distance. "Strike me, rudder, will you look at that thing? I ain't never seen nothing like it in these waters. Wait, I'd know that beast standing in the bows if he was the last otter on earth. Come on, Jid, let's get the bad news back to Tungro." They hurried off southward along the bank, toting the loaded net between them, with Jiddy, like most of the youngsters, besieging his mother with questions. "It was an otter on the boat. I saw him too. But why is it bad news for Tungro? Does he know the otter?" "Ha! Know him? I'll say he does. That's Fulgrim, his mad brother. I thought we'd seen the last of that, and..." "Mad? Why's he mad? What'd he do?" "Well, he used to go hunting vermin, and when he caught 'em with them, well, never you mind what he did. Now keep up, and don't drop that net or twist it." The day was rather overcast, though the sun showed at intervals between masses of gray-white cloud, which the playful wind chased to the southeast. The honeysuckle rode at half sail, Furmo steering her into the bank, which was crowded with otters. Trimp stood alongside Fulgrim, watching them closely. "My goodness, Ful, they've all turned out to welcome you home. See, there's your brother Tungro." Chugger launched himself from the mast onto his friend Fulgrim's shoulders. "Tcha! Otters no welcome you, Mr. Ful. No beast laugh or shout hello to you. Big, long faces on 'em." Fulgrim settled the little squirrel on his strong shoulders. "They got good cause to not be cheery, mate. My tribe fears me. I was not but a load of trouble to 'em." Chugger growled. "Girl, you not trouble, Mr. Ful. You my matey. I chop their tails off for you." Fulgrim slid over to the side, still carrying Chugger. "You sit there and behave yourself now. Leave this to me." Otters parted ranks, fearing to be near the returning warrior. But Tungro waded swiftly forward. Clasping Fulgrim's paws tightly, he smiled into the heavily scarred face with great fondness. "My brother, welcome back to the Holt. Come on, matey. Bring your little friend. Bring all your friends. Rest and eat." The Holt was an enlarged bank cave, old and very comfortable, filled with beautifully carved furniture, the specialty of Tungro's tribe, who were master craftspeople and proud of their carpentry skills. Most of the tribe were still wary of Fulgrim, so he kept the company of the Honeysuckle's crew. They sat on elaborately carved benches by the fire, dining on fresh hot root and water shrimp soup, oat farls, and riverbank salad. Martin and Gomf sat at a highly polished table with Tungro, who poured steaming blackberry and sage cordial for them, while the cook served their food. "You and your friends have worked wonders with my brother. He's not the same savage beast, thanks to you, Martin." The warrior sipped his cordial gratefully. "Don't give me the credit, friend. It was young Trimp and little Chugga who wrought the change in Fulgrim." Turning to Gomf, the otter inquired, "Why do you keep staring at me, mouse thief?" The irrepressible Gomf shrugged. "The more I look at you, the stronger you remind me of some beast. Martin, would you say Tungro resembles Skipper?" "Ah, mate, now that you come to mention it, he does. Very much." Tungro sat up at the mention of the name. "Skipper? Is he not about old enough to be my father? Gonf slapped the table. I knew it! You're related to him! A faraway look entered Tungro's eyes as he unfolded the tale. My grandmother gave birth to 3 sons on the same day. Bargood, my father, and his 2 brothers, Riverwhite and Warthorn. Riverwhite was much like my brother, Fulgrim, a great fighter and a slayer of vermin. Every beast thought him sick of the head because of his love for battle. He left our holt to go roving, and they say his tail was severed by foe beasts. An otter without a rudder, as you know, is like a fish without water. Riverwhite became a woodland dweller, a master of disguises, and called himself Mask because of this. Travellers told my father that he had been slain, though where and how it all happened, we never got to know. The other brother, Warthorn, was the biggest and strongest of all 3. He left the holt when he was scarce half grown because he couldn't ever buckle down to my grandfather's strict rule. Warthorn was a natural leader that no beast used his given name. They nicknamed him Skipper, which is a title we give to otter chieftains. Oh, anyhow, he went off to found his own tribe and hasn't been heard of since. When Bargood, my father, was alive, he'd look at me and say that I was the image of his lost brother Skipper. Then he'd turn to Fulgrim and say that he was the double of Riverwhite, his other brother. Martin leaned across the table and held Tungro's paw. Would you like to meet your Uncle Warthorn? Tungro nodded wistfully. I'd love to. I heard so many tales about him, but he left this holt long before I was born. Do you think I ever could meet Warthorn? Certainly, my friend. Journey to Redwall with us, and you will. A few days later, Logalog Furmo's large, fierce wife, Honeysuckle, was coping with her brood on the stream bank of the summer camp. Energetically, she scrubbed at the wriggling body of her eldest. Be still, you little worm. I'll teach you all about that maiden of a water margin, filthy shrew. Flicking out with a wet rag, she caught another young one with a stinging slap across the tail. Get your paws away from those scones, or I'll chop your tail off and bake it into a pie. Go on, be off with ya. 4 tiny shrew maids came dashing along the bank, squeaking, Mama, Daddy's coming in a big boat with a sail. Honeysuckle grabbed the nearest one. Just look at the bank mud on that smock. It was clean this very morn. Go and get a fresh one off your grandma. Not one of those off the rock ledge, they ain't dry yet. So, the great roving Logalogs decide to come home again, has he? Furmo's deep, rich voice hailed her from upriver. Honeysuckle, me precious, I'm back, old dew of me life. She scowled at Furmo, standing heroically on the prow of the skiff as it sailed inshore. Swirling the corner of a face cloth, she wiggled it down the ear of the little shrew she was attempting to clean up. Back at the end of summer, my darling. I'll return in the first autumn mist, O jewel of the woodlands. What time do you call this to be getting back, you great useless lump of gowsome fur, eh? Conf sprinted ashore with 2 shrews in his wake, carrying a carved otter footstool and several strings of dune-hog quills and beads in various gaudy colors. He pointed to the nameplate on the skiff's bow, planting a genteel kiss on the shrew wife's sud-covered paw. Oh, beauteous beast, your spouse brings gifts from afar, all borne on a fine vessel that carries your fair name. He has done naught but pine for you night and day. Honeysuckle melted immediately in the face of Gonf's gallantry. Fluttering her eyelids, she gave him a playful shove, which sent him sprawling in the shallows. Ah, Mr. Gonf, you old flatterer, fancy calling that lovely ship after me. Whatsoever gave you the idea? The Prince of Mouse Thieves stood up, shaking water from his rear end, still spouting eloquently. "'Twas all your good Furmo's idea, milady. We wanted to call the boat Gullywhacker, but he wouldn't hear of it. No, says he, we must call it the Honeysuckle, after my beloved." Furmo gasped as Honeysuckle grabbed him from the prow and squeezed the air from his lungs in a mighty embrace. Oh, I wronged you, me dear one, forgive me. All those wonderful things you brought back for your wife. I could cut out my tongue for what I said about you. Furmo managed to gasp out a stifled mutter. Cut your tongue out? No such luck. More's the pity. She dropped him in the shallows. What was that you said? Furmo scrambled up, thinking quickly. I said, cut your tongue out? No, my duck, you're far too pretty. Verg and his friends were greatly taken with the shrew babes, but none more so than Bo. The gluttonous hare allowed the tiny creatures to feed him vast amounts at the noontide meal. Can you eat more plum pudding, sir? Just try me, laddie. Shove it this way, what? My mamma make this salad, sir. Do you like it? Rather. What a clever little lady your mother is. Fill me bowl again, there's a good little tyke. Do you like apple and pear turnover, sir? Like it? Steer it in my direction, young tail waggon, and I'll show you whether I like it. Honeysuckle perched gingerly on the footstool, which she thought was a small chair, casting a jaundiced eye in Bo's direction. I'd hate to be standing next to that long-eared rabbit in the famine season. Where does he put it all? Aye, thanks to you, Gonf, you fetched him here, and that tribe of starving otters, too. We'll soon be eating out of house and home. Gonf tweaked the shrew wife's cheek slyly. Well, me beauty, you don't want victuals going stale in the larder. Not while you're away on a nice trip that Firmo's planned for you. Trip? Firmo never told me about no trip. That's 'cause he wants to surprise you, pretty one. How do you fancy going on a nice boat trip to Redwall Abbey? Oh, bless he's a good heart. Is there nothing Firmo wouldn't do for me? What a wonderful, thoughtful beast he is. Firmo waggled a paw in his numbed ear. I give your whaling a rest and pass the beer. What was that you said, Firmo Log-a-Log? I said, my love's unfailing, nothing but the best for you, my dear. Squeaks of fright from the little ones caused Martin to leap up, sword in paw. A dark shadow circled overhead, suddenly dropping like a stone into their midst. The great goshawk, Krar Woodwatcher, folded his wings and bowed courteously. O joyous day, thou hast returned to my fiefdom, Prince of Mouse Thieves, and thou too, Martin, warrior of Redwall. Gonf nodded formally with appropriate regal disdain. Lack a day, sirrah, have thou a care, landing in such a manner mongst the babes of Firmo, our faithful vassal. Krar lowered his beak to the ground in the face of such royal displeasure from the Prince of Mouse Thieves. Alas, 'twas not my intention to affright the babes thus, Prince. My hasty landing was prompted by a desire to be in company with thee and thy noble beasts once more. Martin allowed his footpaw to touch the lethal beak. Krar did not see him exchange a wink with Gonf. I pray you, Prince Gonf, be not wrathful with our friend Woodwatcher, for we know him to be a good and honest bird. Tarry with us, Krar. There are victuals aplenty here. The huge, fierce goshawk awaited Gonf's decision. Sensing he had pushed his luck far enough with the dangerous bird, Gonf smiled magnanimously, patting the ground at his side. I spoke in haste. Come sit thee with me, my faithful friend. It comes to my mind that one who battled with a swan in our defence must surely be worthy of our hospitality. Honeysuckle nudged Firmo, almost knocking him over. Do you hear that? Why don't you learn to speak like Gonf and Martin? Proper gentle beasts they are. Bo sat watching in open-mouthed admiration as food vanished down Krar's beak at an alarming rate. Great seasons of starvation! Do you suppose that chap will be able to fly when he's finished scoffing? What? Trim could not help teasing the hare with a wry comment. I wonder if the Redwall Abbey kitchens will have enough food to keep up with the both of you. Dinny shook his head at the hedgehog maid's observation. Burly, miss, I hadn't thought of that. Them two will keep ye cooks gertly busy, I'm certain of that. Traveling upstream was not difficult as they traced back their original path. Tungro's tribe were strong swimmers, and they weaved in and out of the growing flotilla of shrew log boats surrounding the honeysuckle, lending strong paws wherever they were needed. On a lazy golden afternoon, Gonf lay stretched out beneath the stern awning, tossing hazelnut pieces in the air and catching them in his mouth. Martin was napping nearby, whiskers gently twitching against a curious midge, bent on investigating his face. A fragment of nut, which Gonf had missed, bounced off Martin's nose, and he opened one eye slowly. Do you mind not disturbing me? It's not often I get the chance at an odd snooze. Gonf aimed another piece of nut at his companion. Snooze? How can you talk about snoozing, mate? We're nearly home. I'll be seeing my Columbine soon, and that gauntlet of mine. Wonder if he's grown at all. Martin stared up at the changing leaf patterns, blinking as the sun traced through, blurring the edges. Oh, I imagine gauntlets will be tall enough to cause us more trouble, young scamp. Hope the work on our abbey has progressed without too much bother. I bet Bella's missed us, though the kitchen crew will probably be glad you're gone. Pies can lie cooling in window sills in safety. Ha! Not with my gauntlets running around, loose they won't. In one smooth motion, Tungro slid aboard the skiff. He whispered urgently to Martin. We're due to run into trouble, I think. The warrior lay still, though his paw was seeking his blade. What makes you think that, friend? Well, I can hear a waterfall sometimes up ahead, but that ain't really it. Some beasts are following us. I saw movement in the trees, ripples in our wake. I think they're up ahead of us, too. Immediately, Martin rose, sword in paw. Sounds like they've got us surrounded, eh, Gonf? You two stop here. I'll go and take a peek. Gonf crawled out on the deck and took stock of the situation. Tungro's otters were in the water, guarding the Shu longboats, which Firmo had grouped around the honeysuckle. Only the stream sounds and the distant waterfall broke the ominous silence. Suddenly, the soft autumn noontide had grown dangerous. Krar perched upon the honeysuckle's prow, watching keenly. Fulgrim had his axe out and was standing in the stern of the back logboat. Firmo and his Gaussum crouched, rapiers drawn. Gonf held up his paws, signaling every beast to wait. His eye caught a movement in a tree-shaded shallow. Then the mouse thief relaxed, waving his paw for the crew to stand down. He shouted then, his voice cutting through the stillness. "Ha! I'll bite your tail off and stuff it down your ear!" A gruff voice responded from the shallows. "Surrender, Mousey! You're surrounded, mate!" Gonf gave a broad wink to the Gaussum shrews. "Surrounded? You great Lord Beryl, stay there! I'm coming to surround you, you 40-faced frog flasher!" Hurling himself from the deck, Gonf hit the water with a loud splash and threw himself onto the creature, which sped out from the bank. Stream water boiled in chaos as the pair met, roaring and bellowing. "Garraway Bullo, you bang-tailed river dog! I knew it was you all along! Take that! What were you, gunfolk? Don't try to fool me! You were scared out of your mousy wits, admit it!" "Scared? I'd only been scared of dead logs floating in the water. Only thing I'm scared of is you won't have supper ready, you whiskery water-wet puddin'-walloper!" Yelling with delight, Fulgrim and Tungro dived into the water. "Auntie Garraway! 'Tis us, your nephews! Oh no, look the larders! It's Bargod's brats! Look at the size of 'em! My poor sister must have starved to death trying to feed 'em! Gunfo, get 'em off me!" Otters of Garraway's tribe began popping up everywhere, shouting to the otters from Tungro's crew, who yelled back at them. Trimp looked to Martin, who was chuckling and shaking his head at their antics. "Looks like the two tribes are related. He's surrounded by aunts, uncles, nieces, and nephews. You!" A large paw of soggy bank mud caught Martin full in the nose. Both groups of otters were so happy to see each other that they had started a mud fight. The remainder of the Honeysuckle's crew and Firmo's shrews did not hesitate. Laughing madly, they leapt into the water, joining in the fun. Right along the bank they fought, slinging heaps of sludgy brown mud at one another, slipping, sliding, and splashing as they pelted away furiously. Mud was everywhere. Swiftly aimed globs of sticky goo splattered, sticking to fur, spikes, muzzles, paws, and tails. A practically unrecognizable hedgehog maid stumbled into what appeared to be a small, moving mud mound. "Is that you, Miss Trimp?" "Of course it is. Who are you?" "Oily little chug. Take that!" "You filthy imp, don't chuck mud at me. Throw it at those otters, they started it." "I throw muds at every beast. Here's some more for you. Whiz, splat, splotch, whop." Only Krar remained aloof, perched in the skiff's prow, shaking his head in disgust at the undignified spectacle. "Zounds, 'tis surely a day of fool's delight. These river dogs are a mad species, methink. Ouch!" A mud-covered bow stepped to gather more. "Oh, well hit, Feathering's Hall. Perhaps that'll spoil the great pompous Featherbag's appetite. What?" Evening had fallen by the time both sides had wearied of mud throwing and washed themselves off in the stream. Queen Garraway Bullo took a last chance to grab her nephews and duck them soundly. Gonf waded over. Ahoy! What's going on here? Trying to drown your kin? That's right, Gunfo, disrespectful rascals. I'll teach 'em to address me as your majesty, not Auntie Garraway. Well, friends, you'd best rest up a while then. Then I'll have my crew rig blocks and tackle to pull your pretty boat over the waterfall. 'Tis the least I can do for such fighters. Fulgrim broke the surface, blowing water. Aye, 'cause if you don't, your name will be mud forever. And that is where we will end this chapter. Thank you so much for joining me. I think we've only got one chapter left. So, tune in next time for the conclusion of the book. Till then, have a good week. Stay safe. Be well. Take care.